Despite being one of the inexpensive EV OGs, the Nissan Leaf wasn't a whole lot to write home about for a while, especially once humble too. Starting off on the front end, you really can tell that the Leaf is all new. Take for instance its very clean sheet front end. There aren't a whole lot of openings, and that's to improve its coefficient of drag, which on this new model is 0.26, whereas the previous one was 0.28, so pretty sizable increase for just smoothing out the lines a little bit. Looking across its front end, we've got this light bar that stretches across the middle, and in the center is a Nissan emblem, which on this trim, the Platinum Plus, is illuminated. And to the right of that is the Leaf badge, which is embossed in this black trim. From there, these headlights look really cool. I like their curved look, and I like how it's kind of like this stacked LED design. That's a common feature on a lot of cars these days, and I like the trend. It's pretty cool. It really cleans things up and makes things look futuristic. Otherwise, it's pretty basic, which again, contributing to that aerodynamic efficiency. Down below, there is some cladded trim for protection and whatnot. And after all, this is a subcompact crossover, so you figure there's gonna be some cladding somewhere. Along the side, you really get an idea of the Leaf's overall styling and the fact that it is a two-tone paint job. We've got this burgundy and black going on here. Additionally, the front door handles are flush, whereas the rear door handles are hidden. Also, the way this roofline sweeps back and joins with the rear end, apparently that was inspired by the Nissan Z, which is interesting because this is a subcompact crossover EV, not a sports car, but cool nonetheless. There's cladding outlining the wheel wells and the trim down below, and you get larger 19-inch wheels on this Platinum Plus trim. And finally, out back, the Leaf is very geometric. I like these kind of square taillights going on and this large portion of black trim. Down below, there's this substantial black trim piece, which is a mix between glossy piano black plastic in the middle, and then it's surrounded by a more traditional cladding type of material. And to finish it all off, we've got this Nissan badging out back with a nice horizontal spelling out of the Nissan name, and then the Leaf badge down below in silver. All 2026 Leafs are front-wheel drive and feature a 75 kilowatt-hour battery. Now, there is the S variant, which is not officially unveiled yet. It's not out. That has a 52 kilowatt-hour battery, and output is rated at 214 horsepower and 261 pound-feet of torque, which makes this thing reach 60 miles an hour in around 7 seconds. The peak amount of range you can get with the Leaf is in the S Plus trim, which is 303 miles. If you're familiar with what the Leaf used to be, that's a substantial jump. From there, the SV Plus trim comes out to 288, which obviously not above 300, but still pretty respectable, again, considering what the Leaf used to be. This Platinum Plus trim, because it's a little bit heavier, it's got more features, it's got the 19-inch wheels, etc. This range is only 256 miles, which is not that great in this day and age, no matter what EV it is, especially in the subcompact crossover EV market. But at least you can get that 303 on a lower trim. Here on the passenger side, we have an NACS DC fast charging port, which charges up to 150 kilowatts. Not bad. In fact, that allows this thing to charge from 10 to 80% in just 35 minutes. Along the other side is a standard CCS charger, which is where you can get your level 1 and level 2 charging from. So let's say you have a level 2 240 volt charger installed in your house, you charge on that side. Now, owners will remember which is which after using it a few times, but what's nice is in the dashboard, Nissan actually shows you that there's 2 arrows that point towards this side and 1 arrow that point towards that side, and you figure, at first you're like, well, why are there 2 arrows? But actually it makes sense. The 2 arrows, that means that's the faster one, that's kind of the priority charging one, and the other one is the slower charging side. I mentioned earlier that that base S trim is not out yet, you know, with the smaller battery and whatnot, so pricing hasn't been announced for that. However, for the current base S Plus trim, pricing starts around $31,500. This model in particular, the Platinum Plus, starts at around $40,500, but this one as tested is $42,000. Inside the 2026 Leaf, overall space is good. It's a little tight on headroom in here for me. I am 6'3", so there's that. But otherwise, shoulder room, waist, leg room, all that stuff, pretty comfortable. In terms of overall feel, it's got a lot of airiness to it, which, yeah, that term gets overused a lot in automotive journalism, but it really does apply here, because you really do feel like you've got this nice, open, comfortable expanse, and the simplicity overall bolsters that even further. And that's because we've got these simple drivetrain controls down here in the middle. There are these 4 buttons in the middle of the climate control vents for infotainment controls. And then for climate control, there are these haptic buttons up in the middle towards the infotainment screen, which not only look really cool, but have good response as well. They're very easy to get used to. And finally, the 2-spoke steering wheel has a lot of buttons on it as well. In terms of screens, well, both the instrument cluster and infotainment screen come out to 14.3 inches. That's up from 12.3 inches, which comes on the S and S Plus trims. The infotainment software itself is very easy to use. I've really never used it before until I got behind the wheel of this thing, and yeah, everything's nicely laid out. It has great response. No real lagginess to speak of, and the software is quite nice. It actually has a surround view camera as standard, plus wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and everything you'd come to expect in this day and age for a top-of-the-line infotainment system. Really, kudos to Nissan for making this very easy to get used to. In terms of connectivity and charging, there's a 12-volt charger way down below in the footwell, and then 2 USB-C chargers in front of the center cup holders. Now, the Platinum Plus trim is the only trim that gets a wireless charging pad in the middle, unfortunately. It does have heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, and up top we've got a large sunroof with changing opacity. In terms of overall interior materials quality, there's an interesting mix of stuff going on. We've got this interesting fabric material that outlines the top of the dash and along the top of the door cards. It's interesting. It looks nice. I like it. Some people might think it looks a little cheap, as if it needs a lint roller, you know? But otherwise, I think it's cool. It's a nice change of pace over what you get in other cars. There isn't a whole lot of piano black plastic. There's a tiny bit in the middle here and then a little bit on the steering wheel, but that's about it. I like that in general, all the materials have a matte finish to them and also feel pretty substantial for a Nissan Leaf. The seats themselves are very comfortable. They're nice and soft, and they have this interesting pattern built in that is, again, a bit different than what you find in other cars. Additionally, this Platinum Plus model does have the Bose sound system, which gives it speakers throughout, including built into the headrests. If you're thinking that this interior may look a little drab and dark, don't worry, there is a lighter color available that brightens it up quite a bit, and in my opinion looks just a little bit nicer than this. This isn't bad, I wouldn't mind this, especially like I said, the difference in materials, the interesting cloth that outlines various surfaces, but you can get a little bit lighter, and most people I think would prefer that. So in terms of back seat space, well, I mentioned that front seat space is great. Back here, not so much. As you can tell, I'm kind of having to do my best Mr. Burns from The Simpsons impression, kind of being a hunchback back here. Headroom is quite lacking, if, you know, to say the least. But, I mean, it's passable for short trips. I will say that legroom is also passable. This isn't great. I wouldn't want this on a long road trip, but not horrible. I am seated behind myself, by the way. But another interesting thing, which this normally isn't something we highlight in these videos, but footroom is actually very tight. I've got my feet jammed underneath the seat, and that's all I have. Usually you get a lot more. Otherwise, I mean, you get the same quality of materials back here, this nice, soft seat material, and then we do have heated seats and 2 USB charging ports back here, and a household outlet down below. And credit where it's due, we do have a center armrest with 2 cup holders, plus some generous sized pockets in the doors. And here in back, we've got a generous 20 cubic feet of cargo space, which expands to 56 cubic feet when you drop the rear seats. You can move these bottom panels around for a little bit more storage, for keeping things more supported. And down below in here is where you find a charging cable for when you hook up at home. And we can't forget about a household outlet back here as well. Behind the wheel of the 2026 Nissan Leaf, the first thing you notice is it's a quiet, calm place to be, and the driving experience pretty much follows suit. What I mean by that is it's not going to inspire you to go fast and attack the corners and try to have some fun. I mean, yeah, it'll move all right. It's got good speed. I mean, it is an EV after all. It's got that constant torque going on, but yeah, it's not meant for sporty driving. When it comes to its steering, you can change the weight in its various modes, especially going from normal to sport. It gains a little bit more firmness, a little bit more solid feeling in sport. And yeah, no one will complain about it. It's comfortable. That's really all you can ask of it. You do feel the bulk of the vehicle, but it is nicely composed. You know, the body control, again, it's not gonna attack the corners with zest, but it does feel nice and stable and sure-footed on the road, and that's a nice benefit for sure. The brake pedal is a little too soft for my liking. Again, this isn't a sporty vehicle, but I do like a little bit more response and a little bit more, say, solidity to that, because that equates to just feeling more confident on the road and feeling like, indeed, you'll be able to stop when you need to, especially in the event of an emergency. You do feel that the weight is evenly distributed across the vehicle, which makes sense. It is an EV. It's got a big battery pack in the middle. When it comes to regen or regenerative braking, you control that via these paddle shifters, like in a lot of other vehicles, and you can crank up the regen a decent amount, but you can't crank it up to the point of one pedal driving, which is when you just drive the car with the throttle and you let off enough and the vehicle comes to a stop. It does have this E-step mode, which cranks up the regen even more, but again, it doesn't achieve one pedal driving, which unfortunate for an EV, because in an EV where you really want it, you really want every opportunity you can have to maximize regen. Finally, overall visibility is quite good. I have a good view. The rearview mirror does impede that a little bit. Otherwise, looking out the back and over my shoulder and whatnot, yeah, no problems there. The C-pillar's a little thick. I do find myself kind of peering around a little bit more than usual, but not too bad. And so that, my friends, is the 2026 Nissan Leaf. It's completely redesigned in and out. It's got some innovative features here and there, especially when it comes to interior amenities and what's going on with cargo in the back. The pricing is good, especially for the amount of range you get and the fact that you can DC fast charge up to 150 kilowatts. The 2026 model year really upgrades the Leaf and makes it quite competitive in its class. For more information on the 2026 Nissan Leaf or any of its competitors, click the link in the description down below. And thanks for watching.